morning and welcome to the 2025 Rally to End Child Abuse. So, I'm Elia Fox, the President and CEO of Family and Children's Place, and it is my honor to welcome you here today as we stand and sit together for the children of our community. In January, the Children's Bureau of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services released its annual child maltreatment report. It reported that over 14,000 child victims of maltreatment in Kentucky, placing Kentucky as having the fourth highest rate of maltreatment in the nation, nearly double the national rate. Tragically, about a third of these victims were under the age of 4, and babies, children under 1, had the highest rate of abuse. This happens while we are simultaneously facing a youth mental health crisis. Teen suicide rates have risen by over 62% since 2007, and it is now the second leading cause of death amongst children ages 10 to 14. Our children are suffering, our families are suffering, and this suffering is needless, and this suffering must be stopped. Today you will see many people wearing blue, the national color of child abuse prevention. This color was chosen to represent the physical bruising of abused children, while the pinwheel, which you will also see around our campus, is the national symbol of child abuse prevention because it symbolizes playfulness and joy and the childhood that every kid deserves. Today we are surrounded by both blue and the pinwheel because our community is at a crossroad and children are hurting physically and emotionally. And yet many of us believe in the possibility of a day where children truly live joyful lives. And that is why we are here today, to stand together as a community, joined by leaders, elected officials, advocates, activists, parents, and citizens, and pledge our collective commitment to ending child abuse and working together for the children who depend on that commitment. Our commitment to their safety and our commitment to their recovery. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and to formally kick off our shared pledge, we are here today to hear from these leaders. For over 140 years, Family and Children's Place has worked to serve, protect, and heal children and families and prevent child abuse and neglect from taking place. We, like our partners, believe that every child deserves to be cared for, cherished, and kept safe, regardless of who they are and the circumstances of their birth. We know that supporting healthy families and preventing abuse and neglect and family violence is the key to overcoming not just abuse, but the very core of our work. When the children in our communities have been hurt physically, sexually, experienced human trafficking, neglect, or experienced horrific trauma, they turn to Family and Children's Place to help them navigate that journey towards recovery. So I'd first like to recognize the leaders and the staff of our Child Advocacy Center who coordinate and deliver these services. Can we please give them a round of applause? Please raise your hand. We also provide services that support family reunification, healing, prevention, and support through HANDS, visitation and parenting services, Greater Louisville Head Start and school-based services. Can we please also give a round of applause to all of these leaders who are leading that work right now? The programs and services of Family and Children's Place help nearly 5,000 children and family members every year. And so on behalf of the thousands of families that we serve, thank you. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for demonstrating your commitment. And thank you for working for child safety and well-being. No single agency can do this alone. No one has the resources or the expertise by themselves. And so we are surrounded by many partners that are working with us in this fight together. And together, we will continue to fight child abuse and neglect and family violence. We will continue helping to create a community where all children reach their highest potential. And one day, together, we will put ourselves out of business. We will build communities of support that end abuse, break multi-generational cycles of violence, and promote healing and support. Before I introduce our speakers, I would just like to take a moment and thank a few of our team members, partners, and supporters. So first, will all of the members of Family and Children's Place who are out here today, please raise your hand? And can everybody join me in a huge round of applause? This work is hard, and they do it tirelessly, and we are grateful to them. Thank you to our volunteers who are here with us, who give hundreds of hours every year. A huge round of applause to Health Tracks RX, who is our presenting sponsor of next month's Champion for Children's Luncheon. I also want to thank Algood, Humana, LG&E, and Schneider Electric. CoSare for Kids and Face It, who, like Family and Children's Place, is on the front line doing this work every day. Bikers Against Child Abuse. If you're not familiar with BACA, they are a body of bikers who empower children to not feel afraid of the world in which they live. Members of our multidisciplinary team, huge round of applause. All of our members who are here. This is law enforcement, this is members of the prosecutor's office, child and protective services, and many more who coordinate the care. And many are also co-located with us in our Child Advocacy Center. And so many partners, CASA, ECHO, Face It, CACs of Kentucky, Kentucky Youth Advocates, YMCA of Greater Louisville, members of the mayor's office, and many more, as well as our dedicated and probably freezing, so thank you again, board members. We have Rich Gardner, Vinnie Hughes, Harriet Lair, Richard Lindsay Jones, and others. Thank you.
Well, good morning. It is always nice to be with you because I know that we all share the same values. And let me begin by stating the obvious, and that is every child in Kentucky deserves to grow up free from fear of abuse and neglect. However, if that were our reality, we would not be here today. And as much as I love being with you all on what is inevitably a freezing day in March every year, what I do wish is that we didn't have to hold rallies to end child abuse. But as long as we do, I am so glad to look around this group and see the partners that we have in this work. As Governor Beshear likes to say, we are called to protect the lost, the lonely, and the left behind. And nothing is more important than all of us, elected officials, community partners, folks in the child welfare sector, corporations, everyone in a community coming together to work for the common good of the most vulnerable among us, and that is our children. There is no greater priority in the Beshear Coleman administration than ensuring that every single Kentucky child has the opportunity at a brighter future, no matter their zip code. Now, we're hearing a lot of stuff coming out of Washington, D.C. right now that is obvious cause for concern. Whether you're concerned about the potential cuts to Medicaid that could kick families and children off of their health care, whether you're concerned that the Department of Education is on the verge of being closed and you wonder what that's going to do for our special needs children and our low-income families. What I want to remind you is that as frightening as it may be, you are the ones in the trenches doing the work, doing the most important work that we have to stay focused on. There are some things that are out of our control. There are some things that happen in other places that certainly may impact us, but staying focused on making the world that you serve a better place is what we're all in this together to do. And the work done here at the Family and Children's Place and similar centers across Kentucky is building that better Kentucky, one child, one family at a time. You do the heavy lifting of protecting our kids from harm. And so if you hear nothing else today, I want all of you to please hear me when I say thank you. Whatever role you have played in lifting up these kids and families and helping to protect them, thank you for doing your part to make Kentucky a better place. And here is my promise to you. You will continue to see the Beshear Coleman administration's commitment to build a better Kentucky for all of our kids, because we know that you have Kentuckians' backs every single day, so we will continue to have yours. Thank you. God bless you. and God bless the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
Thank you, Governor Coleman. Thank all of you all for being here today. It is wonderful to see everybody, and I'll tell you, I know what today is. Believe it or not, today is the first day of spring. It's also the day of March Madness, so I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way. I know what time it is. I want to alert all the other speakers to what time it is and what time the game starts. I also want you to know that when I get back to Washington on Monday, we're opening up a congressional investigation into how Louisville got an 8 seed in this tournament. We'll see what we can do. Thank you so much to the Family and Children's Place for being here. And not just being here today, being here every day for 140 years, taking care of some of our most broken children. Children who are abused, children who are beaten, children who have to come back here. And in a remarkable way, this place is able to help put them back together. And if you've ever been inside, you know. You see the exam rooms. You see the therapy rooms. You know the kids are coming in here. You don't want to think about what they've been through. But you have to. And the Family and Children's Place does it so that we can truly protect our kids and our families. I agree with Governor Coleman. I would love for the Family and Children's Place to be out of business. But the reality is there's 15,000 kids in Kentucky every year who are beaten and abused. And that's what we know of. The average age of these kids, 4 years old. Our most precious, our most innocent, our most valuable resource. And we must invest in places like the Family and Children's Place so that these kids are not thrown on the scrap heap of humanity and are given a chance to be put back together again and make something of their lives. The Family and Children's Place makes that possible. They also do incredible work to prevent this from happening in the first place. They don't just look to put kids back together. They look to end child abuse altogether. Look at the HANDS program. Over 200 baby showers last year, going out to families and saying, what do you need? How can we help you set up for success? We know it's hard starting a family. And this organization says, we're going to help you so that these situations don't happen. I'm thrilled we have the expertise, the wisdom, the care, the compassion of the Family and Children's Place in our community. And in Washington, as we have politicians and bureaucrats right now talking about cutting Medicaid dollars, taking money away from those most vulnerable kids. 40% of our kids in this country and over 40% of the kids in Kentucky are on Medicaid for their health insurance. That we're going to fight that we are going to fight to protect our kids, to make sure that they have what they need. And the Family and Children's Place has what it needs to protect a future for all of us. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Congressman McGarvey, for your leadership in Washington, for your representation of us here in Louisville, and for opening the congressional investigation next weekend. That is so critically important. For all the reasons you said, though, I will simply say it, too, is an honor to be here. And it's important that we're here. It's important that federal, state, and local officials are all gathered together. All of us understand the importance of public safety in our communities. And you cannot have a community that is safe when kids in your community are being abused, are being neglected. If our most vulnerable and young children don't start their lives out with that feeling of safety in their home, in other places that they seek comfort in, their lives are not going to be good. And so we need to continue to support organizations like the Family and Children's Place. And I'm proud that as mayor, our administration has supported it through the HANDS program, as Congressman McGarvey just mentioned, to give 200 new mothers a baby shower, to give them hope and support and encouragement as they bring a new child into this world. And we all need to continue to support them, not just when we're rallying together on days like today, but each and every day. And whether we're at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, to continue to do what we can to support these kids, to prevent this violence from happening in the first place. It's one of the reasons why my administration is so focused on children, working to make early childhood education a reality, working to support kids in every way we possibly can. And it must start with those that are closest to us, ensuring that they are safe. So thank you so much to the Family and Children's Place. Thanks for gathering today, and thanks for your support every day.
It's an honor. It's an honor to be here. The Kentucky General Assembly has led on child welfare issues for well over 5 years, and I'd like to give you kind of an update on what we've been working on. But one does not have to look very far to see that this work is a collective effort, investing in our children and pursuing policies that are aimed at identifying and preventing child abuse and neglect. During this current legislative session, I sponsored Senate Bill 73 that would criminalize sextortion as a felony sex crime and require education about sextortion in our schools and with our law enforcement agencies. We know that sextortion has contributed to an alarming increase in the number of suicides among our children and teenagers. And with the advancements in AI software, we know that the challenges with sextortion will remain for the foreseeable future. I am grateful that the governor did not delay in signing this bill, as it was signed into law just last week on March 12th. Another great piece of child welfare legislation we saw this session was Senate Bill 26, which was filed by Senator Brandon Storm, and I am the proud co-sponsor of that bill. Senate Bill 26 provides parents, foster parents, or relative caregiver can be denied placement of a child on the sole basis of a disability of the parent, foster parent, or relative caregiver. This issue has been litigated all the way through the Supreme Court, and this bill now clarifies the law in protecting the rights of those with disabilities while also ensuring the safe and proper placement of our vulnerable children. In addition to tackling sextortion and child placement matters this session, I want to note that the General Assembly has made record-level investments across the child welfare spectrum during the last 3 budget cycles. Investments ranging from increased foster care rates, increased funding for prevention services, and key investments in our community partners. In addition to our budgetary investments, I want to provide a bit of historical perspective on our policy work for child welfare within the General Assembly. I was the proud sponsor of Senate Bill 8 during the 2022 session. Senate Bill 8 was developed at a time when Kentucky was consistently leading the nation in child abuse and neglect. And this bill's aim was to take a proactive approach to preventing child abuse and preserving our families. Since Senate Bill 8 has been in effect, Kentucky no longer leads the nation in substantiated reports of child abuse and neglect. That is huge, and it's because of partners like you all. But we still have a lot more work to do in this space. We are nowhere near where we want to be, and we continue to face significant challenges. One of those challenges, and I'll just be bluntly honest, is in uniting our legislative and executive branches of state government in order to do this work. And while we are all committed to serving families and relying upon the expertise within our Cabinet for Health and Family Services, we still face challenges to have our policies and initiatives implemented. For example, it wasn't until just this past year that our children advocacy centers, like here at Family and Children's Place, started to actually receive the appropriate payment for their services by Medicaid, which was required under SB 8 back in 2022. I share this challenge to make a plea. I want to reach the gold standard for policies that identify and prevent child abuse and neglect and preserve our families. I want to make sure our community partners, and especially our child advocacy centers, have the tools and resources they need to serve our most vulnerable. And as we get this right, and as we unite and work together, just imagine the significant improvements we will be making in the trajectory of child welfare within the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Our families and our children deserve nothing less, and I commit to you all to remain a champion for our ongoing work and initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for sharing. Before I introduce our next three speakers, I'd also just like to recognize, welcome, and thank Representatives Watkins and Rourke for being here with us today. Also, would you like to stand, Representative Watkins? He represents FCP. So, our next three speakers are another incredible group working on behalf of children in the Commonwealth. We are joined today by Dr. Lisa Lee Williams, who's the Chief of Staff for the Cabinet of Health and Family Services, Representative Ken Flemings, who previously served on Metro Council and has been a longtime champion for mental health and healing in our community, and Jefferson County's Commonwealth Attorney Drina Weathers, who not only has over 20 years of public services, but additionally a long-time standing commitment to addressing abuse. Dr. Williams, would you like to kick us off?
Good morning. I would have ran if I could because it's cold out here. Well, on behalf of our Secretary of the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, Eric Friedlander, the Cabinet for Health and Family Services, the Department of Community-Based Services, the Child Abuse Prevention and Protection Division, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do. We congratulate you on continuing to do the services that you do every day, but we can talk all day about that. But I'm here today to say thank you. Thank you for every hand that you hold when they're in despair and tears. Thank you for every story that you hear that you have to go home and someone has to help you because you are helping those that are desperately in need. Thank you for serving in times like this and times that we can't even comprehend because we sit in a different place of the service continuum. So we thank you. Thank you, President Elia Fox, for what you do and the leadership that you're bringing to the organization. Thank you for 140 years of service. Thank you for being great partners with us because we understand we can't do this by ourselves. The work that we do in preventing child abuse and responding to child abuse requires community. It requires partnership. It requires family. It requires cultural shift. And that is a work that's not easy for us. So thank you for continuing in the fight. We'll continue to be here with you. Stay warm and have a great day.
I wanted to say thank you very much to Ms. Fox and what they do here. It's phenomenal. Been on Metro Council. I was very involved from allocation of money and support of that group as well as on the General Assembly. I'm not going to go through and reiterate what some of the things that Senator Adams have mentioned, which is very, very important we've done. I do want to add one thing to that is that Representative Whitten put forth a bill that trains animal control officers when they go into a situation and they see an abused animal. Typically, there's a strong connection between that and child abuse. And we are going to push that again. Ran out of time this year, but we're going to push that again this coming spring and making sure that comes to fruition. I want to give you a little sort of a personal perspective on mental health and going through the healing process of trauma. Some of y'all might know, most of y'all probably don't. I run a mental health center for the past 10 years. And my eyes have been very, very much open to the pain and suffering that the least among us go through. And we had a couple come in, a very low-income family with two adopted children, and they had cigarette burns on their bodies. One child, the younger boy, was personality was really difficult. I'll tell you that. The older sister, was having basically mean, exhibiting a lot of aggressive behavior, and it was a very, very tough situation. And when I tell you this story, it's just what sort of drives me to push for mental health wellness from a policy standpoint and also from a funding standpoint. And when these individuals came in, they were having a very, very difficult time. The parents, as I said, are low income, didn't have a lot of money. We basically provided the service without really charging them whatsoever because we felt it was our mission to do that. So, about 3 months into it, the parents became pregnant, which they're elated. But there's a fear in them that they didn't know what the two adopted children they had was going to do to this newborn. And so we went through this process. And and I can tell you a whole lot of more details of what's going on, but I can tell you when that child was born, and through the 9 months of therapy that our psychologist gave to these kids, as well as to the parents, the older child, the daughter, she came in and she was holding the child, and I'm sitting here about ready to crack up because to see her face glow with joy and happiness and love for her newborn baby sister was so enlightening. It really takes you back, and going through that therapy, going through that process, it took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort, if not one, if not two sessions a week. In addition to that, there's a community that came around because we look at things from a holistic standpoint to wrap the whole family into this situation. We worked with their church, we worked with their family, we worked with their friends. We've got these kids into a position now. They've both graduated from college and they're very productive folks. And I tell you what, it just warms my heart and makes me really hot all over. Not to say that with all the cold weather, so I feel pretty comfortable right now. But that's a kind of healing process. That's what Family and Children's Place provides. They provide that warmth, they provide that love, they provide that help and that therapy and that support in order to get these kids into a better place so they can live a very productive life. And so with that, I want to say thank you very much to Ms. Fox and to all the staff who goes through this process. I know the congressman, mentioned, as well as the lieutenant governor mentioned about Medicaid. And I'll be briefly, we're taking this very seriously in the General Assembly. We understand some of the things that's going on in the federal. We've set up a Medicaid Advisory Task Force, actually a board, that's going to look at the Medicaid and how it's going to affect us and so forth. So we making sure that we can keep folks on, within the system in order to provide services to make their life better. So the General Assembly is taking this very seriously in terms of what's going on, and hopefully we'll have some good, strong policies that elevate and make Medicaid stronger for those who are least among us. Thank you all very much.
My goodness, I was listening so intently. She was like, your turn. Sorry about that. And good morning, everyone. Almost good afternoon. Thank you so much for, I'm looking at every face out here. There's many of them that I know, but especially with the Family and Children's Place, and especially with the victim advocates, especially with the staff that you don't see who are working behind the scenes, especially the ones that are working with our children each and every day. And especially, I wanted to say hello to my office. There's some people from also, raise your hand. I just want to share and thank you for our president, our new president. She reached out to us and reached out to our office, and we got to meet just last week, I believe. And I'm just so grateful for everyone and everything that everyone's doing. But I want to share just very, very quickly about our commitment and our work. And we can't accomplish any of this, you've heard it, in silos. It's with the valued collaborative effort of partners. Doesn't matter where you came from or what you do. What does matter is our children. So I want to thank, he's not here today, he usually is, County Attorney Michael Connell in his office. All of those cases, many of the cases before they reached felonies, they start there and then they come to us. And then I want to especially thank our Indiana prosecutors that we have been working with for a very long time, but for me, for the past couple of years. It's a game changer that we can actually work not just inside the states, but outside the states when it comes to our children. And we're not going to allow our bridge to stop us from doing what we need to do. And then shout out to the Crimes Against Children's Unit and LMPD. They definitely, you don't see what they do, not technically, but we do. They investigate the cases, they take care of our families, and then they really, really embrace them and then get that information to us. So this is the reason why we have these events, and I won't keep you long. We know that we want this eradicated. We want children to be healthy and happy and be able to be the citizens that they can be in our communities. But we know, as Congressman McGarvey said, that it's not going to happen overnight. So I want to share with you particularly about our Special Victims Unit. So we have actually assembled a group of prosecutors, victim advocates, paralegals, and staff that only deal with these cases. And our division, our deputy chief is here with us, Andrew, that's right in front of you. I just want to share with you in 2024 that we indicted 214 specifically SVU cases. 8 of them are already post-conviction, so they're already done. We went through trial. And we're also have attorneys that were involved in 148 defendants' sentencing hearings, 148 criminal defendants that have been held responsible for their wrongdoings. And in 2024 also, we have prosecutors that had handled 10 rape in the first degree charges, 10 sodomy in the first degree charges. We have already closed cases dealing with incest and 23 assault 1 charges, and that is just within the past 10 months. This is what we're doing for you each and every day. This is our commitment to you. We are here to prosecute cases, but we're also here to take and embrace our own community. There's something outside of just prosecuting. So we have an initiative called the Grace Initiative, and part of the Grace Initiative, I won't go through all of it, but that C and E in the acronym. C is for collaboration and community. We're getting out to work with each and every one of you, and we are open to doing what we need to do, and we can do it together. But the E is for education, educating our youth. We are now going out into the schools. What we have found, and you all know the ones that are working with our children each and every day, they have got to find a safe space. They don't find a safe space a lot at home. So we have to make sure we have to go into the schools. We have to start talking with our children. And that's what we're doing, because the more they get to know us, it doesn't mean they'll tell us everything, but they will understand that we want to work together. I had a sweet, sweet pea that told me, I don't want to talk to you because you're prosecuting my father. And we get that, but we also get that we have to be the grown-ups in the room. So we've got to take care of our kids, and we will continue to educate, we'll continue to prosecute, and we'll continue to do what we're doing. So keep a lookout also for our joint victim advocate video that we just completed, thanks to Aaron. And that's with our LMPD victim advocates, our county victim advocates, and our victim advocates. So each and every step will be intentional, and I personally just thank each and every one of you for just being intentional. You could be anywhere else, and you've decided to be with our kids. Thank you so much.
You know, I had an iceberg analogy for explaining this. I had no idea it'd be so appropriate for today. Every 6 days, a child dies in the state of Kentucky because of abuse and neglect. In that same 6 days, 2 more children are nearly fatally injured and may result in long-standing neurologic disability. Every 6 days, 123 children are victims of child maltreatment. Those are the real numbers to think about. We can easily get lost in the 15,000 cases of child maltreatment in the state of Kentucky, but when you think of it, every week, a death, 2 nearly killed, and 123 significantly abused. Makes it real. CoSAR for Kids, formerly CoSAR Charities, who I represent here today, has been involved in this work since 2008. I was chair of pediatrics at that time and had the good fortune to meet Dr. Melissa Curry, who is now our sole forensic pediatrician here in this half of the state. When I found out she had interest in this work, we brought her in. We created the first child forensics unit division within the Department of Pediatrics at the University of Louisville. And thank goodness for CoSAR for Kids, because without their support, this never could have been launched. So they've been with us from the very beginning. They were the ones who, with others, founded the Face It movement in 2013-14 and have provided millions of dollars of support over that period of time. In the most recent year, in 2024, 1/4 of all the money that they give away goes to child abuse and neglect work. It accounts for, this past year, $2.7 million that was given to agencies around the state, to the CACs, to the CASA groups, and to entities that are supported through the now 200 partners in the Face It campaign. Without CoSAR for Kids, this initiative could have been far worse. We wouldn't have made the progress we've made, and we have made progress, but we're still at twice the national average for the rate of child maltreatment for every 1,000 kids. That's why I do this work. That's why in my semi-retirement, I am on the advisory council and then have taken over as co-chair for the Face It Committee for CoSAR for Kids. I look forward to working with you all. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Leah, for stepping up to that leadership role. We at KYA so value Family and Children's Place, clearly for the on the ground work they do, but they are so valuable as a partner with the Face It effort, and they're so valuable for our work through the Kentucky Blueprint for Children in Frankfort. So we appreciate Family and Children's Place in so many different ways. Sometimes you learn a lot by listening to kids' questions. The last survey, comprehensive survey, found the 10 most frequent questions that kids ask. Interestingly, the top three were about God. What is God's last name? What color are his eyes? And my favorite is Santa Claus his older rich brother? Two of the questions were profound and they cut you to the heart. Why is there pain? And why do we have to die? Three had to do with science. How do traffic lights work? Why is the sky blue? And the third one, a little tougher, is what really happens to vegetables after you eat them? And of course, the final two, can't leave those out. What is Taylor Swift's middle name, and how many pairs of boots does she own? So those are the kids' questions. You know, I bet you that if kids were here today, they would ask another question. And before I tell you the question that I want you to think about today, I want to thank Senator Rocky Adams and I want to thank Representative Fleming because, as has been indicated, for the last decade, the General Assembly has stood behind kids when it comes to child welfare. And that is a long-standing commitment. Dr. Rabelais was such an important part and is such an important part of that. We've had a 48% reduction in child abuse in Kentucky because of efforts from y'all, Dr. Rabelais, and our General Assembly. So if a single kid is abused, that's one too many. But sometimes you got to hit the pause button, don't you? And celebrate the right trajectory. So we're in the right trajectory, and I want to ask you a question to take us one step further. Julie mentioned that we're 2/3 of the way to the finish line for key child welfare bills this year. There's 2 days left, and there's one big issue that I want you to take action on. I want you to ask your House member what is happening with House Bill 36. Sponsored by Representative Tipton, here's the common sense solution. Right now, one of the issues in Kentucky schools, there's a lot of discussion about schools in Frankfort. How about this one for an issue? Right now, what's going on is a school employee is accused of misconduct and abuse. An investigation is launched, and somewhere in the middle of that investigation, a deal is cut. You know, if you would resign, we'll stop the investigation. Let's sign a non-disclosure agreement, and it's done. Now, does anybody think that that school employee is moving to Silicon Valley? No. They're going to go one county over, get another job, and come next spring, we're in the same place. So this bill has common ground support. It had it last year, has common ground support in the House. It has common ground support in the Senate, and surely it makes sense. So I want to challenge you to reach out to your Kentucky House member and to House leadership and let them know that because you care about kids, you care about that bill, that your priority is not protecting predators, it's protecting victims. And House Bill 36 can help make that happen.
Our Children's Advocacy Center network is celebrating its 25th anniversary this year. And yeah, it's exciting. 25 years. And Family and Children's Place was at the forefront of that movement and helped set the stage for the whole statewide network that we have today. And as we look back at our history and consider how we were started, it's important, I think, to note that our multidisciplinary teams that some of you have been talking about came before the work of our children's advocacy centers. Our story actually started with the concept of collaboration between all of the professionals that we've been talking about, our prosecutors, our medical professionals, social workers, law enforcement, all of those folks coming together to collaborate. And our founders 25 years ago were trying to solve the problem of investigating complex child sexual abuse cases in silos. And they were desperate at the time to come to the table to begin sharing information and investigating as a team to improve outcomes for our child victims. And so now, so many years later, sometimes we forget the simple and yet profound concept of collaboration. And our Legendary Partners program, which is one of my favorite things that I get to do every year, was designed to honor those individuals who are committed to the collaborative model and who go above and beyond in their work for our child victims. And this year's legendary partner, nominated by Family and Children's Place, is Detective Michelle Rush. Yeah. Detective Rush has been with OSPI for 5 years, and during this time, she has been instrumental in obtaining a high number of arrests to ensure justice for children. Through many details, warrants, and late nights, Detective Rush has taken many children under her wing whose parents have abused them to the degree of near fatalities. She has gone beyond the call of duty by visiting these children around the clock and spending quality time with them at hospitals and residential facilities. She has also trained other detectives and assisted with important administrative duties. She has done all these despite some of the hardships that life has thrown her. And she miraculously continues to work and assist for her, as she calls, babies. Unfortunately, Detective Rush has been hospitalized on Wednesday and is unable to be here with us, but Detective Lauren Payne is going to come up and receive the cape. Get to put a cape. And I believe Detective Rush is with us. There she is. We send you best wishes and that you will be back with us soon. All right.
Wait, hold on. I don't think she could see you.
And I'm going to go ahead and put this around you. There we go. All right. Thank you.
So that is the close of our speakers. Another round of applause for our incredible speakers, for our partners, for our staff, for our leaders who are all here today. Reminder that April 1 is where we kick off Child Abuse Prevention Month. April 17th, I hope you will join us for the annual Champions for Children Luncheon at Slugger Field. And let's get out there and do the real work that we're here to do. We have 15,000 kids who are depending on us. Thank you.